Hi everybody, this is Miss Tish and welcome to Stitching Stories. We're going to be doing things a little bit different this month. We're going to focus just on our project. So I'm not going to be talking about any books this month. Our project is going to be a small stuffed Pusheen made from two very fluffy socks. And I can't wait to jump into it, so let's start. Today I'm going to make a white Pusheen with some orange accents. Okay, so I have my white sock. I've turned it inside out and I cut off the leg of the sock above the heel. That heel is going to be the butt of our Pusheen. And we're going to sketch a Pusheen head up at the toes. So get a felt marker and you're going to just sketch your Pusheen. Remember, Pusheen's head is narrower than his butt. So you kind of want to start maybe halfway to 2/3 up your Pusheen and go in a little bit and then sketch in the ears. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, this is on the wrong side of the fabric, so no one is going to see it. Okay, so now we have our Pusheen outline. We're going to take our needle and thread. You guys all remember how to thread your needles. And we're going to knot the end, and our first stitch is going to be right by the edge. We're going to go through the sock and then through the loop of thread so that it's knotted around the edge. Then we're going to do a back stitch. Okay, so looking at the graphic in the corner, we're going to go down at 1 and up at 2. And then we're going to go back down at 3 and back up all the way back at 4. So we're taking 2 steps forward and then going all the way back to 1. So on our next stitch, we would be going down where the 2 is, coming up at the 3, going down even farther ahead of 3, and coming back up at 2. So you're kind of doing spirals, and that's to keep all of the stuffing nice and tight inside, and so our seam is solid. I'm stitching right along the line that I drew. You don't have to. You can stitch outside of it, you can stitch inside of it. It doesn't matter because no one's going to see that line. We're going to stitch all the way around it, and then we'll trim the toe of the sock off above the stitches. Okay, here we are at the end. And just like at the beginning, I'm going to do a stitch around the side of the sock and knot the thread off. So you're going to come up around the sock, through one loop, through the other, and pull tight. And we are done. And then we're going to take our big scissors and cut around about 1/4 to 1/2 inch above the line that we drew. When you finish cutting your ears, just snip off any stray threads, and we're going to have the toe of the sock to make our 4 Pusheen paws. Now you're just going to make little circles. You can find things around the house to use as your template. I'm going to use a spool of thread, and that will give me some bigger circles for the back feet, and then I'm just going to freestyle a circle for the front feet and cut those out of the toe of our sock. If you don't have enough toe left over, that's okay. You have plenty of sock with the leg that we cut off, so you can use that instead if you need to. Okay, now that we have 4 circles for our paws, you want to use the slightly bigger ones if they ended up 2 sizes for the back feet and the slightly smaller for the front feet. We're going to thread our needle and sew a running stitch around the edges of the paws and then pull it tight to gather them into little balls of fluff. So after you stitch around the circle, just going up and down, you're going to pull tight and tighter until it forms a little ball of fluffy fabric. And then we're going to do a couple stitches across the back just to keep it all together. And I'm putting the needle in from one side, pushing it out the other, and pulling. So if your paw is already pretty tight, maybe 2 stitches, one going from north to south and the other east to west is enough. If your little ball of fluff is really very loose, then do 3 or 4 more. It's okay, whatever you're comfortable with. Then you're going to knot it off and repeat the same thing 3 more times until you have 4 Pusheen pawls. Alright, I'm just finishing up my 4th Pusheen pawl. I'm going to snip the thread and set them off to the side up here. They're just off camera. And now clean up the workspace a little bit, and we're going to turn our Pusheen right side out and get ready to stuff our Pusheen. When you turn your Pusheen, pay some special attention to the ears. Kind of poke your finger up in them. Make sure you get a good ear shape. And when you're ready, grab some fiber fill or polyester filling, and we're going to stuff our Pusheen. Alright, first off, we're not going to grab a huge thing of stuffing. We're going to grab a little ball. And we're going to take that little ball and stuff it up into just one of the ears. And we want to do this because we want to make sure the ears stay defined. If we take just a big handful of stuffing and shove it in, our ears will stay empty. So this is one of those things where you have to do a little bit slowly at first. So you take a little bit of handful, not even a handful, a little ball, and stuff them up into the ears. Once you have the ears stuffed as full as you want them, then you can take a bigger handful of stuffing and start stuffing Pusheen's body. And don't be shy. Stick a bunch of stuffing in there. You don't have to do it all at one time. You're going to take handfuls of it. But keep stuffing until your Pusheen is as fluffy as you want him or her to be. Okay, my Pusheen is as stuffed as I would like him. And now I'm going to take my needle up, and we're going to close up the bottom of the Pusheen the same way we did the paw. So you're just going to do a running stitch all the way around his bottom, and then pull tight. This time we're going to tuck those fluffy edges inside and do a couple stitches to keep him closed. But it's the exact same thing you did for the paws. So I'm going to apologize. Some of my stitching is going to be out of camera, I have noticed. But as I said, we're just doing a running stitch, which you guys have done before. Here we are at the home stretch. We're closing off the bottom of our Pusheen. And now all we have left to do for our Pusheen is add the accents. We need to add on the paws, the stripes, and a face. So before I add on the paws, I want to cut out the accents. And so for that, I'm going to grab my orange sock, and I'm just going to freehand cut out 2 stripes for the back of my Pusheen and a heart for my Pusheen to hold. Alright, so my stripes are cut out, and I rounded the ends so they look like Pusheen stripes and threaded my needle. Now we're just going to start off the same way we did with all the other ones. We're going to put a stitch in and put the needle through the thread to knot it off. And I apologize again, I can see that I'm getting off screen. And we're going to just do a looping stitch. I don't even know if this stitch actually has a name. We're going to be putting the needle through Pusheen and up through the stripe and just keep going around in circles. You're going to do that all the way around your stripe. After you finish your first stripe, you're going to knot off the thread, position your second, and do the same exact thing. And stitch all the way around it. Hopefully you'll be able to see my stitches a little bit better. But we're just looping around. Through the loop in the thread to knot it off to begin with. And then through Pusheen and through the stripe. This is so much harder to do in front of the camera than it is just to do in your lap when you don't have to worry about somebody seeing it or being able to see on the screen. Once both of the back stripes are on, kind of stand your Pusheen up and get a feel for where you want to add the back paws. Now the back paws are going to be down by the bottom, and they'll help him stand up. And we're going to be placing them, if you'll see where my needle is, that's where I'm going to put the first one, and then the other one will be just on the other side of his body. So we're going to pick out one of the bigger paws and just hold it up against the Pusheen, and you're going to push the needle through the Pusheen and then through the paw and then back through the Pusheen to make like a big circle and pull tight. And then I'm going to do blanket stitches around the edge. You could do the same just circle stitch that we did while appliquing the back stripes on. I felt like the blanket stitch, which you guys might remember from doing before, is when we go through that circle, it comes up and through the loop of thread each time. So we have a wrap of thread around the paw. And even though I'm using black thread, it doesn't matter because Pusheen is so fluffy that you don't see the stitches. And I just go all the way around the paw with blanket stitches. I do it to the first paw, knot off the thread, do the second back paw, and then we will place the heart and the front paws. Okay, there's our first foot on, and we're going to go just across to the other side of the front of Pusheen's body and place the second paw. So just like I did before, I'm going to take my needle and figure out exactly where I want it to be, and just do a little stitch, and then pick up the paw and sew it on. So we want them kind of counterbalance our Pusheen so he can stand up nice and straight. Alright, with both of our Pusheen's back feet on, we're going to sew the heart that we already cut out right about in the center of Pusheen's chest. And I'm going to do that first and then add the paws next to it. And it gets sewn on just like the stripes. So we pick a spot to start and just sew through the Pusheen and up through the heart and loop around and around all the way around the heart. Once your heart is on, you're going to take your front paws, place them on either side of the widest section of the heart, sew them on just like you did the back feet so that your Pusheen is holding the heart. Alright guys, all 4 paws are on our Pusheen, our heart is on our Pusheen, and the last thing to add is a face. And it totally makes the Pusheen, as you can see in this other one that I made. It's just pieces of felt, which I cut out, and I did not even sew them on, I just glued them on because they were so tiny. My first Pusheen I made a black felt face out of. I thought it would be kind of cute to make a hot pink face on my white Pusheen, so I'm going to be cutting out 2 circles, a little Pusheen mouth, some whiskers out of bright pink for the white Pusheen. Now, for those of you that registered with the library, you will get an email with a PDF template, so you can use that to make the face. But if you didn't get it, it's okay. You can totally freestyle this. Don't know if the bright pink was a great choice for this white Pusheen. I'm looking more like a gummy bear than a Pusheen. But here's our Pusheen, and I hope you guys had fun making him. I will see you guys next month for our next project. And be sure to let us know if you like this new format or if you want to go back to the longer videos. Bye-bye.